and emergency relief funds for distribution to establish local food pantries in response to the sharp increase in food insecurity in Key West, Florida. Directing the city manager to designate staff to identify eligible local food pantries and facilitate equitable distribution and accounting of funds. Directing the city manager to execute necessary documents, budget transfers, or adjustments upon consent of the city.
Commissioner Carey, you pulled this item?
Yes, thank you. Just out of petty questions, has staff been able to identify where the $40,000 in funding would come from?
Madam Mayor. Commissioner Carey, we also have Christina. She seems to be lathered up in the last presentation. I could feel that question. But the answer is no, we don't. We budget to zero. We would need a little bit more leadership on if it does pass, especially from the individual that sponsored it with their recommendation. What can think?
I would recommend possibly using the UNESCO allocation, since that has changed in this fiscal year. So there is not another identified funding source for it at this time.
And would we need to make that decision at this time where the funding would come from?
Madam Mayor.
If in fact it would come from UNESCO?
Commissioner Carey, it passed with person leadership. I believe that it's prudent to understand when we make these decisions here where it is coming from. We heard from our various directory that there is no allocation of funding line item. Christina, can you provide some history? We've done this in the past.
Like around the time we allocated around $143,000, which we took from allocations for youth leagues and the nonprofits in order to fund the nonprofits to feed with the food. So I don't recommend doing that this time. I think we have this line item that is not going to be fulfilled. We could allocate that towards that. Commissioner Kauffman, the loaves and fish food pantry reference to your that been bad timing. I know that they have the
Eggs and fish
pantry.
Commissioner Carey.
The director is in the audience, Mr. Crooks, but the loaves and fish referenced is on Patterson Avenue in Midtown between 4th and 5th Street. It's very active and operated by Age and Royal and Florida Peace Outreach Coalition. That food pantry has been operating 15 or 20 years. It's very active, along with Serve to See food pantries and distribution. I have no problem with Glad Tidings participating. They do a great job. The idea is to help the community members that are really stressed right now and the overabundance of need, given the government shutdown and budget cuts that all these agencies, as everybody knows, half the funding was set by the county in this past fiscal cycle and cuts from federal and state grants.
I was curious how we heard from these agencies. I know with the COC meetings that happen monthly, I haven't specifically heard that there has been a massive funding, or I understand what you're saying about the SNAP benefits that were read that have been established. But the meetings that I have listened to or followed up on, seems like there's a lot of funding available that can't get used in the cycle that needs to be used in. I was curious, the city commission directs the city manager to designate appropriate staff to identify eligible local food pantries within the city. Curious about allocating funds and establishing the need, or asking the city manager to establish the need and equitable distribution. Just wondering if that could maybe be done in reverse, maybe identify the need first and then decide what amount should be allocated. Maybe it's more than 40,000, but perhaps it's less. And feel free to just there's an comment.
Commissioner Castillo.
Right now, the government's funding is back in place. We can spare $40,000. It's not a crucial time to do this since we got the funding back. I'm only saying this if it was an emergency, opening up, as we said many times before, every nonprofit to come forward and say, what about me? And believe me, I donate through all the food pantry, and $40,000 is a lot right now when we just got through with our budget session, trying to keep all our employees and make it through this year's budget. That amount exceeds what we can offer at this present time.
Madam Mayor, let me say make one more comment, just based on what Commissioner Castillo was saying. One of the things I've noticed is when If this is specific to food pantries, people are struggling to pay rent because they're not going to go without food. They're going to feed themselves and let those like electric, water, or rent get a month in arrears. Or I'm concerned with stocking the food pantries, but perhaps there is a better way to we'll have to reallocate those funds somehow, and then food eviction, things like that.
People are using the food pantries more so they can pay their rent. And so what you're seeing in the food pantries is more stress on the food pantries. If you read the article from the Citizen last weekend, said half our residents are living paycheck to paycheck. And it gives the breakdown. We've had the Alice report presented to our commission year after year. This is the holiday season, and we can't support our poorest residents. It's shameful. People are going to food pantries. You wouldn't believe people are going, and they have full-time employment because they need to pay their phone bill, and they're using the money they're saving on groceries to pay their rent. Some food pantries pitch to the city and didn't get a response. That's why I put this on the agenda. If it gets voted down, it gets voted down. But in this, this is the holiday season. We have our nonprofits, the Star of the Sea. We have the Florida Keys Outreach Coalition. We have the Little Food Pantry. We have Cooking with Love. Cooking with Love, by the way, prepares over 250 meals every week. And those folks who get the Meals on Wheels, they only get 5 meals a week. Guess what Cooking with Love does? They provide the other 2 days, 2 extra meals for people that don't get the Meals on Wheels to those extra 2 days a week so they can eat. For us to say this $40,000 wouldn't make a huge impact and help our community, it's ridiculous. So vote how you will, but let's be real. Let's help the people that need the most help. Let's help these agencies, and let's get real with what the funding situation is. The stress on Star of the Sea is real. The stress on FPSC is real. And what we can do to help is monumental. Our finance director says there's $40,000 available in an identifiable fund not being utilized otherwise. And is this an emergency? Absolutely. With the shutdown, people didn't have access to food stamps. So that created even more of an urgent need. Please consider your vote and help up the most in need in our community during this time.
Commissioner Kauffman, you've identified 4. Are there any others, and then why 40,000? Is it 10, 20, 30, 40, or more like Commissioner Carey said? So you've only identified 4. Are there others, like Commissioner Castillo said, then everybody's going to start coming.
Right, if I may. It's a fair point. One way is to provide funding to the COC with continued care and allow them to best utilize and allocate it accordingly. That's how funding in these situations typically work anyway. Or I'm open to any other, reasonable process. But this is simply an effort to help these agencies continue to feed our members of our community. We all know that in our schools, the free breakfast programs and what's going on in schools and the Big Work Glad Tidings and other agencies. So I'm open to suggestions, but I think first we should decide if we're going to even allocate the $40,000. If we're not, then I suppose it becomes moot at that point.
And one other point I'd like to make too is about paycheck to paycheck. When I was tax collector, once a month, my staff would make 250 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, take them to the high school, and give them to the kids. They would only eat half to save the other half for their sister, brother, or dinner. This has been going on for years. Any other comments or questions?
Madam Mayor. Was our first city government budget session, and we cut to the bone many things, especially with our children and programs that we honored over the year. And during COVID, we was able to find the funding because a lot of things wasn't open to the public where we couldn't interact. We had to stay inside, masked up. But I'm not trying to derail from the issue of $40,000. We just got to the budget. I'm not saying we need to do this right now because the government's back open and the statistics show that the economy it's not in a bad place right now. But for us to just give $40,000 out and we cut those children budget so bad, I feel awful about this year. The children are our future tomorrow, and I'm not holding on to the past, but I think we need to reevaluate this.
Thank you. Thanks, Moderator. So, what I would like to see is staff at the end of the year. A lot of the nonprofits do their annual appeals at this time. Because the holidays, we get a lot of funding. I would like to maybe do this, in a different sequence. Perhaps asking the nonprofit to involve in how much they think that they need. A lot of times we see nonprofits struggle after the holiday season because I do receive a lot of funds during this time of year. I would not like for this money to go to the COC. If this were to happen, each of these nonprofits would have to apply to the COC to get those funds back.
Commissioner Haskell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am killing the votes. The city contributes money to Little League, to sports activities. I think this is equally as important to make a contribution to the food pantries. The resolution in section 2 directs the city manager to designate staff to identify eligible local food pantries within the city. So the list is not limited to those ones that were used for an example. So we're directing staff to come up with a list. Presumably the list could be presented at the next meeting and they could approve the authorization of funding. I think it's a good use of money. The finance director has said yes, there is money available, and I support this resolution.
Maybe a compromise would be to lower the allocation to $20,000 and identify the money would come from UNESCO in the resolution.
Any other comments or question? Commissioner Hemsky? There was no specific line item for UNESCO. There was money for marketing. Can you move money from marketing into something like this? I don't know. If we can, sure, I'd go for it. But there was no UNESCO line item at the end of the day. That really appreciate the budget.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sure that's not exactly correct. We put in a different line item so you could vote on the budget. The line item we identified is the $75,000 allocated for that. Okay, now you direct the method in which we're going to select. The matter in which way the staff selects here, that's probably going to take grenades home. They've not done correctly or what have you. So if it's a lotto system, if it's a ranking system, if it's a workshop, it would also give us an opportunity where we don't get bogged down in the details. I'll make a motion to the allocation and then we can turn in the methodology, if that's okay, because you're not going to agree on the allocation, though. You don't have to get bogged down in the methodology. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the allocation of $40,000 as our finance director suggested explanation.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Kauffman. Do I have a second? I'll second unless Commissioner Castillo, you're going to second.
No.
Okay, then I'll second. I have a second by Commissioner
I
Haskell.
would have supported it with the $20,000 with no problem. However, I can't support $40,000 for them like that.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Carey? Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to ask, depending on how this so does, if it does in fact fail, I'd still like to ask staff to perhaps identify an accurate need. Maybe reach out to local food pantry. I'm not sure where the $40,000, where that number came from or how that was determined. But it would be great if this does not pass, could reach out to food pantries, see if there is a need, and maybe they can help each other. Maybe there's some funding through United Way. Maybe there is other funding not being utilized, and we can help bring those together.
Madam
Yes.
Mayor, Terry, I understand the spirit. We will definitely do that. It's wait the annual Fields Day requests for nonprofits. They seeking help possibly present this to the commission. The context, I haven't fielded any requests and a feedback at the city of US, me personally. If the teams receive that and not had to me, that may be a different, but I have not received any requests from a feedback
We've received multiple requests from nonprofits regarding the subsidization of their funding because of the reduction in the county. So I hear Commissioner Kauffman's statement. I'm not tracking that statement unless it got to a teammate and that teammate didn't present it to us. So I was unaware of any of this.
Any other discussion? All right, can you call the roll, please? Commissioner Carey?
No.
Commissioner Castillo? Commissioner Haskell?
Yes.
Commissioner Crossman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ray?
No.
Mayor Henriquez? And I agree a no, but I would like to see the city come back with who needs this and how much.
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
make a motion to allocate $20,000.
All right, so I have a motion for 20,000. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second by Commissioner Haskell. Any other discussion?
Here and there.
Commissioner Carey?
Still not, but I appreciate the idea of a compromise, but we still don't know who needs what.
We discussed, let's see if there's an allocation for it, and then we can look it up that out.
I'm afraid that 20,000 may not be enough. Even 40,000.
Why do we have to do this right now? That's my biggest concern.
We're just sort of taking a shot in the dark. It could be underserving the community, it could be overserving the community. I think there's not enough information. You're right about cooking with love. They are serving 250 folks, specifically seniors, and it's a fantastic program. I spoke with Joe myself last month. Their need has increased, but I haven't heard, like our city manager stated, from anyone specifically of what they need and want. So I would like to just be a little more responsible and make sure that we're not underserving or overserving or taking a shot in the dark. 20,000, 40,000, whatever that may be.
Carolyn?
Okay. Any other discussion?
I'd like to support this here, but I still like to know who's in need. I can't support it if it's not going to be the need.
Any other comments or questions? Carey, can you call the roll? Commissioner Carey? No. Commissioner Castillo?
Right?
Commissioner Haskell?
Yes.
Commissioner Crossman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Henriquez? No.